Alrighty, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Serving Nerve, where we talk about whatever we want, and today we're going to be talking about taking breaks. Yes, if you haven't noticed, I haven't uploaded on my channel for, a little under 2 weeks, give or take. Not sure when this video is going to get out, but about, a little under 2 weeks. And the reason I kind of wanted to do that was because life, it's getting in the way a little bit. There's a ton of things that are going on in my life. And although I want to ascribe a lot of value to this channel, I really like talking to you guys. I really like being able to provide whatever I do on YouTube and stuff. Every now and then, I find that if I'm in a habit of doing something, I'll want to take a break, or I'll want to change direction, or I'll want to just kind of like redirect my efforts so that I can reassess something by taking a step back and looking in on what I'm actually up to. If you haven't noticed, the content on the channel has been pretty repetitive with a lot of fat acceptance cringe compilations, for example. Now, I really love those topics. I think they're very interesting. I think that it's very cool to talk about these things because it's a very common issue. A lot of people suffer with things like eating issues. They're very common in society, especially with the, rise of social media over the years. And I find that the more things like that show up on my feed, the more I want to talk about them. But, that's a double-edged sword. The more you talk about a specific subject, the more people will associate you with that subject, and also, the more likely you are to fall into habits of kind of repeating yourself, because a lot of people have a similar narrative, and you yourself might have a similar narrative. So, it kind of makes a little bit of an issue if you want to create, all-encompassing or expansive content, or something that is, not just repetitive and boring. And a lot of people fall into this habit, particularly on YouTube, because you gather an audience of individuals who might watch you for a specific form of content, and for you to get those views and for you to get the things that you want out of, your audience, you will find yourself constantly, redoing the same content because, hey, that gets you views. Now, for an example, I could make a video talking about, whatever, like some random, philosophical subject or just some little one-off, and it might get a couple hundred views. And then if I talk about fat acceptance or something, say it gets a couple thousand views. There's more incentivization for viewership to make more fat acceptance content in that regard. Now, I don't think it's a great idea. I think people should mix up their content. I've been trying to do that lately, even though I will be putting out more of that kind of, social justice, fat acceptance content, because I think it's a very important subject to talk about, and a lot of people struggle with trying to find their way, particularly in a dietary and health and fitness regard. But even so, I don't think it should be exclusive content or exclusive to the channel, or the channel should be exclusive to that form of content. And you guys have commented on that, and I actually appreciate your comments, because I don't like just spewing the same garbage over and over again to get views. About 9 or 10 months ago, I did start this channel, and I intended for it to be me talking about whatever I want. Me talking about being a server in the restaurant industry. Me talking about, specific social justice issues. Me talking about philosophy and life, and just, stories, and whatever. Whatever I wanted to. Even me doing some cooking videos. And I don't really want that to change, because I personally really do enjoy just doing whatever I want, and if that means me putting 20 of the same video up, I'm going to do that. If it means me putting, a ton of different videos up, I'm going to do that. But an important variable here is on the basis of taking a break. Sometimes it's good to take a step back and look at what you're doing, to redirect your content. Or, more importantly, in any capacity, take a step back from something you're in a habit of doing in order to reassess if that habit is actually beneficial to you or not, or if it's becoming an obsession or even an addiction, or if it's a vice. Now, I've talked about vice on this channel before, and I think that this perspective or this action, the action of taking a break, it's a double-edged sword because you don't want to be lazy, but I think taking a break in almost every capacity can help you reassess where you're at in your life and not fall into the same endless loop of being in a daily cycle. This entails all things, from narcotic usage, vaping, smoking various substances, drinking, eating too much junk food, or falling into the same habit of eating the same things over and over again. That can take you into either extreme direction of the weight spectrum. Talking about myself, I used to fall into habits where when I was really obsessed with losing weight, which, I've been all over the spectrum for weight too, really obsessed with losing weight, I found that, I would do the same thing over and over again. I would eat the exact same way, the exact same weight of food, or the exact same type of food, or whatever, in order to hit my goals. And there were times where falling into that habit was actually bad because the habit I was doing might not have even had me hitting my goals efficiently. And also made me more obsessive about if I don't hit this goal, or if I don't eat these things, or if I don't do these things, or if I don't exercise this specific way. Exercise is another big one. I'll get into that in a second. If I don't do this specific thing, then I won't hit my goals or something bad will happen. It creates an obsessive compulsive kind of perspective, or an obsessive perspective on how you have to do things. It creates perfectionism or OCD in some regard. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to say that in like a psychological disorder way. I just think that's how human brains work. We fall into habits and patterns, and we find that those are like really good for survival. So we adapt to them constantly. And just if we don't have it, we panic. If we don't have something like that, it provokes anxiety. It's like you're missing something in your day. The same thing goes for exercise. If you find that you're obsessed and or you do a very specific sum of exercises, or you have a very specific way of exercising, and if you don't do that thing, then you'll panic because you think you might gain weight, or you might, just not be fit enough, or you might gain less muscle or not enough muscle or whatever. You'll find yourself obsessive with this routine that might not help you, because if you shake up your routine a little bit, change your routine, it might actually help you with your goals of whatever you're aiming for. And I think that's another important thing. Now, personally, I don't mind dabbling with taking breaks from things. If I find that I'm going to be sleeping over at a friend's house, I'm probably not going to be working out that day if I'm hanging out with them the whole next day. If I find that I've got a bunch of work to do, or I've got to work and I'm meeting people and I'm doing things and stuff, I'm going to try to get videos out. I really like getting videos out, but there are times where the video just doesn't come out. And sometimes if I find that I'm doing too much or doing something that I'm not really like proud of anymore, if I'm making content that I'm not into, or I just find that I'm saying the same thing over and over again and I'm not taking a break from it, then I want to take a step back and kind of look in on what I'm up to, reassess what I'm doing with my life. And it's the same thing with work, if I find that I'm doing the same thing, going into work and having that same mentality, sometimes taking a weekend off if possible, because I know that's not always doable for people. I'm very lucky to be able to do that when I need to do it. Sometimes taking a step back and kind of reassessing your life and reassessing your career is another thing, finding yourself not to be a workaholic or obsessed with work. Sometimes going out and doing something different is also wonderful, like going out to eat if you don't do that often, or going to the park, or going for a walk, or, going and meeting people, doing things, seeing stuff, just experiencing life, the wonders of the world, It's very important. I know a lot of people that personally fall into habits, and I myself have fallen into many habits of excessive drinking, excessive smoking, excessive forms of excessiveness, just excessive things, because you fall into a habit and you feel like that's your habit, that's something you do, that's part of your daily routine and you need it. And I really do encourage you guys, if you find that you're in a habit of doing something, or you find that you have the potential growings of an obsession, of a habit, of a vice, a lot of these things, even if they aren't like addictive, sometimes they can become addictive for you because you build these habits around them and you find that you need them, like you need them to survive. If you are falling into that mindset, I really do encourage you to just take a step back and try, even if you can't remove the thing entirely from your life, like, from the more simplistic things or the more common things like work or exercise or whatever, to the more, debilitating things like, substances. I really do encourage you, if you can't remove the thing entirely from your life for whatever reason, I really encourage you to just try and change it up a little bit. Break the habit is the big thing. Breaking a habit's super important. If you find that you're falling into a habit of something, breaking it is incredibly important for your well-being. Just knowing that you aren't reliant on something, even if you're still doing it, changes the way that you think about the thing and creates less obsession around that thing. And also, if you can remove it entirely for a temporary amount of time, you might not feel like you need to do it at all. And you might never do it again. You might never want to do it again. Maybe it's something that hurts you and you don't like it. I've fallen throughout my life into many modes of obsession with excessive exercise, eating certain ways, doing certain things, thinking certain ways, performing specific jobs, becoming obsessed and workaholic-esque with work. Same thing with the channel. There are sometimes where it's like, I need to get this video out. And there's that panic that ensues. There's this compulsive desire, not just for progression or for getting good content out, but for, just trying to get it out because I've done it before and I need to do it again. And this is the time where I need to get the video out because I need to do it like this. And if it's the same kind of content, it doesn't matter. You just need to get it out. Pump and dump, as they say. I've also fallen into things like substance abuse. A lot of people have. It's just super common. A stressful life creates a stressful mind, creates a way you want to get rid of that stress by maybe relying on something, and then you create a vice from it. One night of drinking won't do anything bad to you in the grand scheme of things. I wouldn't recommend it because it's not healthy for you if you drink excessively. But if you drink every single night after work, and the only way you can get to sleep is by, really drinking back some serious stuff, I'd say the best thing to do is try and take a break for a day. Try and drink anything else other than something that's alcoholic. Try and drink, anything, whatever. Water, sparkling water. Try and make yourself your drink of choice minus the alcohol. Or just drink less. If you find that you drink 3 drinks, try drinking 2 or 1. Or maybe go out with a friend and then match them for drinks. Hopefully they're not a very toxic friend who drinks a lot, because I've also dealt with that before. A really toxic friend who drinks a lot kind of sucks. And, coming from the restaurant industry, a lot of people have this really crazy perspective just because there's so many rampant substances of, just constantly hitting a vape, constantly smoking. Everybody I know has had their dabbles with something or relies on something. Constantly drinking. That is a big one, drinking. And, I'm really lucky, by the way, I have to mention this. My roommate, we both work in the restaurant industry, but we seem to really try to not fall into those habits. And I'm very thankful, because if I had a roommate that was really obsessed with constantly drinking, constantly partying, I would probably be more inclined to do that. But, we both have our responsibilities. We both want to progress in life. And we both find that, to progress in life, you can't hinder yourself constantly. You can't constantly fall into these habits of really needing to drink maybe for a few hours a day, or, spend a few hours being out of it because you drank previously in the day or whatever like that, And this is the other thing, is your time. Your time is so valuable. It's wonderful. You only have so much time on earth. And with all of these habits, maybe more than one that you might have, or maybe just one that tends to span over the entirety of your life or your day or your day-to-day living, you lose time. You lose excessive amounts of time. You find that, instead of having those few extra hours, which can be scary hours, because what are you going to do with this extra time? Well, you'll use it for your vice. But if you take the vice away, you're given so much extra time in your life. And, I have this little sister, and she's wonderful. And she talks to me about how it's scary, it's scary because you don't know what to do with yourself when you have this time. You'd rather just, drink the time away or distract the time away or something like that, some kind of example for that. And it's terrible because you realize you're just wasting your time on purpose. When you realize that all of these habits are wasting your time, too much exercise, or obsessing over the way you eat so much so that you're obsessing with things like meal prep, not normally like a normal person, but something more extreme, It's not part of your career, your profession, you just find that you're in that habit. Or it's something else like a vice. Typically a vice like, some kind of substance, which a lot of people fall into, nicotine, whatever else. I'm trying to be careful because obviously I don't want the video to get removed by YouTube. I don't care if it's monetized, but I don't want the video removed. Dealt with that before by talking about specific things that I'm talking about in this video, but, things like alcohol, all of these things, they waste your time. They really do. They waste hours upon hours upon hours of time, or they waste a day every week of your time. They waste your time, and there's so much more you can do with your time. You can go and meet people, go places, do things, play games, make friends if you don't have friends, make love if you don't make love. Find somebody that you like and that you want to start a relationship with. Create a project, create art, dice, like I like to do, or build something, create a board game, create a video game, learn to program, learn a new skill, learn a language. All of these things, they take time. And when you take time away from these things and you put it towards your vice, you lose out on the potential you have for the future. So I really do encourage you. I know this is a short video. I know it might not be the most interesting video, but I find that it's a very personal subject for me because I've found myself in the habit of, wasting my time in so many different ways and becoming obsessed in so many different capacities. And so many other people I know also have and do, whether they know it or not. So I really do encourage you, if you can, take a step back and just reassess. Do you have something that you're particularly reliant on? Do you have a habit that you just cannot seem to break? Do you need to talk to somebody about it? Do you need to just think about it? Do you need to just take a step back? Even if you can't tell anybody about it, take a step back and look in on yourself and then look at what you're doing and see if you can change it in any way. Even if you can't get rid of that habit, can you change it? Because the reality is, even if you don't take the whole thing away, just breaking the habit a little bit, that's how I've gotten out of so many situations and given myself the motivation or given myself the power or the power of thought to know that I can change a habit and nothing's going to happen. The world's not going to explode. I won't lose everything if, say, I don't upload, or say I don't, do this specific behavior, or don't eat a certain way every single day, or don't use this substance every single day. Or don't exercise in a specific day, or whatever. There are so many things, and I have to tell you, I've played my hand with all of these things, and they're very common things for people to do. So, I understand, all these things are very different, and it's all about your mind at the end of the day. It's all about how you think of something, how you react to something, how you perceive something, how you use something, how you rely on something, and how you can personally live a better life by not being reliant on that thing, whether it's a part of your life or not. I really encourage abstinence from something if you find that it's toxic in your life or you've developed a toxic relationship around it, but I know that sometimes taking a step back and just changing it a little bit might help you be able to break it in future. But yeah, I really want to talk about that today because it's something that's kind of crossed my mind a lot, and it's something that I really want to talk about, and there's a lot of new viewers out, and this is the kind of mentality that I want people to adopt. I don't want you guys to be reliant on a specific habit or substance or thing, or struggle constantly with the back forth of feeling like you always need a specific thing to get by when you don't really need it, because all you need is yourself, your time, your mind. And, this is the kind of behavior, obsession and vice. I know I'm saying vice a lot, but, reliance on something. This is the kind of thing that can destroy your mind, provoke depression or anxiety without it, or the fear of not having it, or that you're stocking up on something because you're worried about not having it tomorrow or the next day. Oh, it's Sunday and the liquor stores aren't open. I should go and get extra alcohol on Friday so I can compensate for Sunday. Things like that. I just really want to talk about it because it's something that I know so many people. I don't know many people who haven't struggled with something like that and falling into those habits. And I find that just changing the habit a little bit or breaking it for a short amount of time, it can really help. And sometimes the pendulum swing of you not doing something will make it swing back 10 times harder. But the reality is, once you learn to find your balance between a specific thing or a specific habit or a specific whatever, it makes you so much stronger of a person. And it makes you a better person. And it makes you feel like a stronger person. And it makes you feel like you aren't at the will of other things, you're at your own will. You have this thing called will. So, that was basically the video. I could go on about this all day long. I'd love to talk about this kind of thing because there's been just so many things that I've done in my life that have made me have to think this way and change the way I'm thinking. And there are so many other people I know that have to change the way they're thinking too, and have, or struggle to, or don't, or never do, or never think about it, and they're ignorant towards whatever plagues them. But I really want to talk about this because I think it's a very common plight of being human. It's a very common thing for people to experience and struggle with and suffer with. And it can ruin your life. Whatever the thing is, it can ruin your life and waste your time. And sometimes thinking in the future, do I want to be doing this by the time I'm 25, 30, 40, 50? Do I want to be doing this thing? Do I want to be this obsessive about this thing? What if it impairs my ability to have a family or make more friends or, experience something wonderful or go outside or go and do these lovely things in my life? What if it impairs all of that? What if my obsession just destroys me? And I just think it's a very good thing to just take a step back and reassess. And, if you need help with that, talking to somebody can always help, or talking to a professional can help, or finding, reassessing yourself can help, or just looking in on yourself. If you find that you just need some quality time with yourself, take a step back. Even if it's 5 minutes in a day, take a step back. Think about what you're doing. What am I doing right now? Do I really need to do this thing? If not, maybe think about changing it. That's basically the point of what I'm trying to say. And maybe not just changing it, but thinking about breaking the habit altogether, because that's something that you know you can do, or that you know you can learn to do. And then you'll have more power. So yeah, that's the video. I hope y'all enjoyed. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Have you struggled with a vice before? Have you struggled with a habit or something that you feel like you can't quite break, but you really want to? I really encourage you, and I have faith and trust and fairy dust and all that in the fact that I think you can change. I think a lot of people change. I think that a lot of people have the ability to break from their bad habits and to kind of work beyond their feelings of inferiority pertaining to a specific substance or subject or thing. And people also encapsulate this, by the way. If you find that you have a really toxic relationship, or if you find that you have a really toxic behavior around somebody, changing that too can help, you know? And that's another thing with the industry I work in. It's like there are certain relationships you garner with people that you work around or whatever where they might not be the healthiest relationships. So, yeah. Anyways, that's the video. Tell me what you think in the comments below, and I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you all next time, my people, and it has been lovely. Slater.